TitleMatchNetwork.com.
In Amarillo, were you really given the name Gay Gary?
Yeah, that's another reason I was very unhappy with that, because when I went in there, I had no idea what he had in mind for me. And when he came, he told me, he said, "You're going to be Gay Gary Hart, and I want you to act gay." And I said, "I'm not going to do that."
Right.
And he said, "What do you mean you ain't going to do it? Gorgeous George did it, Johnny Barron." I said, "I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's right to demean homosexuals. I just don't feel that's right at all. And I'm not going to present myself as someone that is something I'm not. Now, if you want to call me Gay Gary Hart, that's fine.
Right.
But I am not going to try to imitate or make light of someone that's gay." I just felt that was really, really wrong.
Detroit, how did you wind up in Amarillo?
I was contacted by Dory Funk Jr., who was a good friend of Eddie Farhat's.
Right.
And Sheik Eddie Farhat. He would wrestle in Amarillo quite a bit. And Senior was looking for talent. And the Sheik said, "I got a kid in Detroit." And at that time, Jim Mars, who was the student, had left Detroit, who I was managing, and he went to Pittsburgh for Bruno Sammartino and became George the Animal Steel. And I wanted to take a venture, and the Sheik said, "I can get you booked at Amarillo. Would you like to go?" And I said, "Hell yeah, I'll give it a shot."
What are some of your early memories of Dory Sr.?
He was a rough guy. He was a real rough guy, a fair guy. First guy that ever paid me what I really deserved and opened my eyes how I should be paid. I worked a lot with his sons, Dory and Terry. Art Nilsson was there at the time. Ricky Romero was there at the time. It was a great territory. Very long trips, real long trips. And no air conditioning in the buildings. I mean, it was horrendous. But there was a guy that took a desert and turned it into a paradise for him and his sons, and did very well for many, many years.
What were your early impressions of Terry?
Tell you how I met Terry Funk. I was wrestling his brother Dory in the Amarillo Fairgrounds, and they had set up a match. Terry had been at training camp with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I was in a match, as I said, with Dory Funk Jr., and the plan for the evening was to switch me from wrestling Junior and start wrestling Terry. So at the time I was using a move called the eye claw, where I would grab you by your eye, and I would always get disqualified.
Right.
The whole idea was once I locked it in, I would cut my fingers with a razor blade, so it would bleed down their face. And I had Junior in an eye claw, and I heard this roar coming from the crowd. I'm thinking, where's this coming from? And it was Terry Funk running to the ring, and he tried to jump over the top rope and caught his foot and fell right in the middle of the ring. And Junior said, "By the way, Gary, that's my brother Terry." That's how I met Terry Funk.
That's great. Who did you manage there? Because I know you actually managed Dusty Rhodes there, a young Dusty, right?
No, not in Amarillo.
Okay.
I didn't manage anyone in Amarillo.
Okay, you were just working.
I was just wrestling. I took a hiatus. I was very disappointed when George and I broke up. I really liked him. Spent a lot of time developing him, and I just wrestled there. I was tag team partners with Art Nilsson and wrestled a lot with Dory and Terry. I wrestled a lot with Ricky Romero. I wrestled a lot with Gory Guerrero. Right. So mainly there, I just wrestled. I did not manage.
How did you actually end up working for Bert Ruby?
Bert Ruby, I was in Chicago managing Angelo Poffo and Johnny Case. And I believe in 1961 or 62, Buddy Rogers lost his world title to Lou Thesz in Toronto on my birthday, matter of fact. I believe it was January 24th, 1961. And when Buddy lost the title, the business in the Chicago area really, really became bad. Shortly after that, Toots Munn and Vince McMahon and Kohler Karani decided to pull their talent out of Chicago. And Fred Kohler brought a guy in by the name of Jack Pfeffer. Right. A lot of people may not be familiar with him, but he was a rinky-dink promoter. And I was told by my mentor, Billy Gales, not to get involved with this guy, because if I did, it would carry a stigmatism about it over the years. So He set me up to go to Detroit.
Hmm.
So I left Chicago.
How'd you wind up working with the Sheik and all that? What were your initial impressions of the Sheik?
Well, Sheik was a very special person to me. I lived at his house. He was a father figure to me. He allowed me to go on TV and learn how to be the guy I became. He allowed me to pick the talent that I wanted to manage. I loved him to death. He was a wonderful guy. I will say I never made a lot of money with him, but the experience that I gained from him was invaluable.
How far did the Sheik go to protect his character?
As far as humanly possible. He would never speak in public, and if you would even try to call him Eddie, you were in a lot of trouble. I mean, the Sheik was very, very, very protective of his image. He wouldn't talk to anyone unless he had a one-on-one relationship with you.
Right.
He would not talk.
Did he ever work some of the green guys?
Not really, not that I remember. Fred Curry, who I couldn't call green, he had been in the business about 2 or 3 years, and he was Bull Curry's son, and Bull Curry and the Sheik both were very good friends. So Sheik rustled Freddie quite a bit.
What are some of your early memories of the matches with him and Mark Lewin?
Oh, just pandemonium. I mean, the Cobo Arena or the Cincinnati Garden or in Columbus or Dayton or Toledo. I mean, they packed their buildings, and him and Mark Lewin probably had some of, and Bobo Brazil would be the two guys that really were responsible for really drawing the money. The rest of us were just icing on the cake, but
Right.
they were the guys that packed the people in.
What were your initial impressions of Mark Lewin?
Oh, Mark Lewin, I met Mark Lewin in my early days in Chicago. I met Mark in 1961. We hit it off right away. We became friends and have remained friends for 50 years, just about.
Do you think a male manager could still get over today in wrestling? Because now,
Male?
because now it's pretty much a lot of female.
Of course. It's would a male manager be allowed to be a male manager? Would the current promotion allow a person like me to exist? No.
Right.
Would they allow a person like Paul Ellery to exist? No. Would they allow a person like Jimmy Cornette to exist? I doubt it.
You think a territory could work in this day and age?
Of course it could. Financially, it would be difficult for the first couple of years. But once you had your window of opportunity established on TV, you had your venue established, and you had your talent established, why couldn't you?
If somebody were to offer you a job as far as booking a territory, would you come back?
If they had financially, they could control it, they had enough money to make a go of it and pay your talent decent, yeah.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.